Hi, this is the Daily Overpass. My name is Eric and I make apps. And today I just want to say, I'm not looking for Steve Jobs. Alright, so a couple days ago I did that video where I was being a bit sarcastic, and I was trying to pretend like we were having a discussion about the biggest app idea in the world, right? And you guys left so many good comments. A few of you said you have this kind of conversation all the time, which really made me feel good because I have this conversation a lot with people, right? And then some of you pointed out the fact that that was a topic of a Black Mirror episode. I didn't know that, but that kind of just shows the fact that, when you think you have a unique app idea, it's not really all that unique. I mean, there's probably been people that think of it. But Shivam Pandey asked a question. He said, well, actually, he didn't ask a question. What he said was, my name is Eric and I just did sarcasm without explanation, right? And Shivam, when it comes to sarcasm, touche, very nicely done, right? So, and then he clarified afterwards, he said, by explanation, I meant the event that inspired you for the sarcasm, right? So, it wasn't really an event, right? Basically what happened was I've been on Upwork like all week, hiring somebody. So when you're on Upwork, you're looking at reviews and ratings and everything, and you're really relying on that. And then I was thinking, it's a lot like, Amazon, products or apps especially, or everything else. You're relying on, on other people to rate and review, and you're trying to get all that stuff done. And then I was thinking, what if you had that in real life and all this kind of stuff, which was just sort of this thing. And then I sort of stopped myself thinking, Eric, that's a stupid idea. That's like the kind of thing somebody would bring to you, and that's where it started. And basically, and then I just I ran away with it. I was just going to talk about that, and then I kind of ran away with it, trying to throw everything in there that I hear over and over again from, when I have these kind of meetings with people, right? And it wasn't so much to be mean, right? Because it's basically every app has to start with an idea. There's nothing wrong with having an app idea, but there's a lot of things I touched on in there. First of all, trying to get somebody else to do it for you for free. Trying to get somebody else to do it for you for free, and then giving them a percentage of the riches, promising them riches, all these kind of things I've heard before. When you say what kind of platform do you want, they say they choose the one that they use or their friends use, right? They talk about having done market research, but it's not really market research. It's more, just asking people they know, and then the people that they know told them, they didn't want to be rude, so they said, yeah, no, that's a good idea, and all this kind of stuff. And then also, when you ask something that's a bit more on the technical side, like how would you monetize it, then it's just, I'll let you handle the monetization part. That's the technical bit. I'm more of an ideas man, right? So there was all that kind of stuff, and then also but mainly it was just the app idea, which we've talked about before, and it's just the whole, how much is $1 billion idea worth, right? And it's a trick question, because the $1 billion app idea is worth nothing, right? In fact, an idea itself is worth nothing unless you implement it, right? But the main thing I was trying to do, or the main thing, it didn't start out this way, but I think I just kind of got a bit worked up, was just try to, convey the condescension there, and sometimes, like I don't have a problem with somebody pitching me their idea, right? Because that's how things are done, right? People come to you with an idea and they want to see if it will work, but having done this for a long time, that the idea itself is worth nothing, right? And when they're asking you to do all the work and they do nothing, or they'll do something that's like, I'll handle the marketing or something like that, which we'll get to that in a minute. So they say, I'll handle the business side of things, which could be anything, right? But they say, you build it, right? And what they're asking you to do is invest in their company. And sometimes you have to turn the tables on them and say, well, this is, my time is worth this amount of money. So, I hire developers, so I'm gonna have to pay them. So I'm gonna be investing, let's say $10,000. I'm gonna be, so I'll be investing $10,000 into this project. Do you have any other investors besides me, right? And that usually, then the answer to the question, it's no. But then they'll say, well, I suppose I could, whatever. So anyway, but that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong. A lot of partnerships start out this way, right? But the main thing I wanted to convey there was the condescension, right? A lot of times when I'm talking to someone, actually it's not a lot of times, a few times, right? I get the impression that they see themselves as the Steve Jobs and they're looking for their Steve Wozniak, right? they see themselves as the visionary who's going to build great things, and all they need is somebody to do all that, you know, annoying little technical stuff, right? The unimportant technical stuff, but they're the ideal person. They're the dream man, right? So, and this is something that, you know, I notice a lot, right? Like none of us, you know, there's that song by Nina, 99 Red Balloons, where she says, everyone's a superhero, everyone's a Captain Kirk, right? Right now, everyone's a Steve Jobs. Everyone wants to, you know, they want to be the visionary, and they're looking for somebody to just carry out their vision, and they're trying to sell you on their vision, which is fine, right? You know, it's fine, but I just don't buy it. There's been one time when I partnered with somebody, and it didn't go well. I mean, it went like they actually brought more to the table than I did. They had you know, like loads of stuff, loads of graphic assets. They had, like, you know, intellectual property, all this kind of stuff. And then they said that they would do all the marketing and we do the building. And then once we started building it, you know, for free, for, you know, for 50-50 split, you know, not 80-20, 50-50, right? And we built it. And then, I mean, it was tough because then they became a perfectionist, right? And so everything became really difficult. I thought it would take us, I honestly thought it would take us 6 weeks, and that was really conservative estimate, thinking it'd probably take us like 2, but we'll say 6, right? And you know, and then it took us, I mean, we worked on this thing for months. My developers were working on this for months, and it was very infuriating. To date, I have made about 14 pounds off that project. I mean, it's hugely embarrassing, right? A few years ago, I was working in a job. I won't tell you when or where because I don't want to talk about the other person in a bad way, but I had this manager, right? So I was a contractor. I'm still doing Overpass stuff on the side, right? But it's like, you know, I'm not really fully committed to it. I'm still like, one day I'd like to do this stuff. So I still have Overpass off to the side. And the manager, you know, he kind of takes me aside one day, and he, you know, because I speak Chinese, right? You know, I spoke Chinese in the army. I learned to speak Chinese, right? And I'm a software developer and everything. And he took me aside. He said, Eric, you know what? I just want to put this out there, but, you know, you and I should go into business together. And I said, really, why? He goes, well, with your Chinese ability and software development skills and my management skills, we could really do great things, right? And immediately I thought, it took me a long time to learn Chinese, and it took me a hell of a long time to learn software development. You know, talking about years of experience, and you know, and you guys know, if you're software developers, it's not just reading a book and then you know it. It's reading a book and then, you know, and then trying things and spending hours on Stack Overflow looking for some irritating little bug that, you know, finally when you find it, you're all the smarter and everything, right? And all that experience and your time is worth more than, you know, than people seem to think it is, right? And you have to tell them that, right? And you know, so I'm thinking, you know, all those years of learning Chinese, all those years of software development, and what do you bring to the table? Management experience, right? Which I suppose would be actually, I suppose it would be important, but I'm pretty sure I can learn management experience too, right? It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't this kind of thing that I was like, oh, please somebody come to me with management experience. I'm thinking, like, if we're on a rowboat and I'm rowing the boat, you're gonna stand there and say, row faster, right? I don't need that guy, right? And I'm also not, you know, a technical genius that's waiting for a visionary to come along and point me in the right direction, right? And again, most people, that's not what they mean, and it's like, I don't want to like dissuade anybody from coming to me, right? And I'm not saying I would never work with, I would never partner with anybody again. I mean, that's not the case. But if somebody wants to partner with me, they have to bring more to the table than I do, or at least the same amount. Like when you see Tom Hanks had an app, was it last year or something, called Hanks Writer, right? Kevin Hart has had an app, right? Those, you know, if somebody with like a huge following came to me and said, you know, I want to partner with you on an app, I say, hey, you know, you obviously know the marketing side of things. You know how to bring people in. You know all this kind of stuff. You don't have the potential to do it. You're actually doing it on a daily basis. But a lot of times people, when they want to partner with me, they say, oh, don't worry, I'll handle the marketing side, right? And then you start asking some questions like, how many Twitter followers do you have? How many Instagram followers? All this kind of stuff. And usually the answer is, you know, I'm not really into that social media stuff. And you know, but I know a lot of people. All right, and you start thinking, if you have not been able to promote yourself, you know, why would you think that you could be able to promote this product even better? Because you don't have any of the experience that, you know, you haven't built up anything. I mean, I'm sure you have the potential to do it, but I'm not willing to risk that. So anyway, so that's kind of what led me thinking that way. It was a bit of the condescension and the, you know, the kind of looking down on, you just do that technical stuff, and don't worry, I'll have the big ideas, right? And I've had this said more than once to me, is like, you and I mean, I could think of about at least half a dozen times where somebody said, you and I should get together because I mean, I have great ideas all the time, and you know, we would just work really well together. And I'm thinking, you know what, I have great ideas all the time too. I mean, not that whole, you know, Raider thing, but you know, I have other great ideas too. Anyway, so I didn't mean to explain the video, but that's kind of what I was going into, right? I'm not looking for Steve Jobs, right? I don't think you should either, but you know, if somebody comes to you with the caliber that actually looks like they can deliver on their promises, then yeah, I mean, I would partner with them, you know, but anyway, that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.